Peace, family. Coming to you today for another exciting topic of discussion. I only had to make this discussion because some disgusting, depraved things are going on right now, and I had to touch on this topic. So why don't you check on in so we can get it in? So, peace, family. Check on in. Only when I'm pulled into these topics do I discuss them, but it's well needed. And we have a sociopath narcissist on the loose in United Snakes of America. You know, I was grateful that they were somewhere else, but they've come back to the States. Peace, family. Listen, I got to get it in, and I'm going to get it in quickly because I have a life. Oh, I forgot to get my little notepad. Hold on. Oh, hold on, family. Okay. Check on in. Oh, peace, family, peace. Check on in quickly. I see everyone's coming in quickly. Listen, we have a sociopath on the loose, a narcissist. I want to make some points because I think people are lost. And it's unfortunately that in a land of the blind, the one-eyed man is God. And actually, the one-eyed man is actually calling himself Jesus Christ. So listen, we have a nature boy who's on the loose right now in the United Snakes of America. What he deems to be Babylon. But he's called himself, he's summoned himself, his lower self has summoned himself to the States. Okay? And for this reason, we have to make this discussion. Because this quote-unquote narcissistic sociopath has gone too far. He is literally talking out of two sides of his mouth. Literally the forked tongue theory, he's playing that to the highest level. So check on in. I love you. Listen, everyone's sending me a bombardment of this being's, his banter, his rants going, his nonsensical rants going on. I'm getting helicopters because it's probably he's an agent. So all the agent beings are coming. The agent is sending their intel. Oh, I'm joking. I'm not serious about that. I want to be very serious about this. Let me explain something. This being calls himself a nature boy. Okay, any man that quotes himself as a boy, you already know is an issue. Okay, I really stay away from this being, and I want to talk about him so that some of you who are wavering on the cusp of not knowing what this being is, know what this being is. Okay, this being was making videos on being nature, camping in his backyard somewhere in the United Snakes of America that he calls Babylon, that he's here now. He was making videos talking about being in nature, and I could admire that. There's nothing wrong with having admiration from nature or what have you. He moved to Honduras. I knew about it previous because I was one of the first people he told. Okay, so I did speak to this being. Okay, once they told me on the phone that they were leaving their own children to go, you already know Florbourne is all about family and all about men who love their families. Okay, so that's a red flag that a being who would leave his own seeds, two little boys on Babylon, who would leave them, regardless of who the child's mother or not. He knew this when he was so-called enlightened, when he was living in Babylon, smoking cigarettes and drinking alcohol, most likely, quote unquote. That's alleged. Okay, so he moves to Honduras the same week that Dr. Sebi dies. You already know my theory. I'm not going to speak it out loud. There's a correlation there. He catches wind and fire. He leaves Honduras, which was free. A wonderful homeboy, what's his name? Phoenix allotted him on his land. Phoenix had 90 acres of land. He allotted this so-called quote-unquote nature boy on his property for free, allowing him to go there and, transmit his message to everyone, right? This is what he did, and he didn't know this man from a can of paint. He had met him previously through his sister. How do I know this? Because Nature Boy told me this himself, okay? Met him through his sister. The sister hooked him up with Phoenix. He went to Honduras. He loved it. He went back to live. The same week that Dr. Sebi was locked up and died in prison, okay? He runs from Honduras because supposedly they got robbed and it scared him, which I have a hard time believing. Went to Costa Rica and set up shop in a house on top of a mountain in a remote area. He started making messages and videos every day talking about nature. Now, I'm going to intercept here. This is a man who calls himself Nature Boy. Not once does he bring up any agricultural things that you should do to plant any things. He was sitting there on beautiful, plush, very, very fruitful land. And not once did you ever see him putting his hand in the soil other than taking a crap on it, pooping on it, to go and plant food. He was telling you that you guys were demons for going to grocery stores every day, but they were spending all their money going to grocery stores 2 and 3 times a day in the tropics, though they had fruits on their property and could have been growing since they had been there over a year. You know, I'm an agricultural nista. I plant things, so I know that the yielding time for certain vegetables and certain, especially he eats a lot of starch, potatoes, and he eats a lot of avocados. Those things grow very quickly and very easily. And within a year time, he could have yielded his own food source. But no, he's telling you that you guys are devils and demons and you're intoxifying yourself. Mind you, he's not talking about some of us who grow our own food. He's not talking about us who filter our own water. He's not talking about us who have windmill, solar panels and stuff that are supplying our home with natural energy. He's not talking about us who are not utilizing fluoride in any of our toothpaste or anything like that. Okay, let's talk about that. Now, family, look at my hair. I want to show you something about Flurbrun's hair. Look, I know I'm not being vain. Look at my hair. Look at my hair. You see these highlights, everybody? See these highlights in my hair? You know why I have highlights in my hair? No, I don't dye my hair. No, this is my natural hair. I don't do anything to my hair. You know why I have highlights in my hair, everybody? Because I'm out in the sun. Brown people who go out in the sun, they have natural highlights in their hair. People who are out in the sun all the time, who are nature people, have very light, their hair lightens up. If you look at the Fiji Islands of dark people, people in the Bali, people in the islands who are always out in the sun, they naturally get highlights in their hair. I do not dye my hair. I never did. I get natural highlights from being out in the sun gardening or sitting out in the sun a lot. Have you ever seen Nature Boy's hair with highlights? Have you seen any of these pseudo-Etherians sitting out and their hair is highlighted with beautiful highlights sitting in the sun, meaning they're out in the sun like they claim to be? They were sitting in the sun all day. According to you, we know it's untrue, but for those who say that he was out there, he was out there in the sun in nature all the time, he would have highlights in his hair. Also, he would have freckles that come from sitting in the sun. People of color get freckles as well. That's part of being out in the sun. The sun lightens your hair, number one. So number one, Nature Boy, who tells you that he's a naturopathic person, tells you that he is a nature person, that he's an agricultural specialist, and demonizing you for going to the grocery store that he goes to every day. He demonizes you is going to the grocery store every day to buy food. There were bottles of liquor, because he was demonizing people who chief it. Big up to the chiefers. I don't chief. There are people who chief. He was demonizing people who chief, saying that they were demonic for smoking and inhaling marijuana. Though people in his own troop, this comes from Kino, there were bottles of vodka every day, lots of bottles of vodka in their house. Who's drinking the vodka? So you're telling me you won't chief herb, but you can drink alcohol, spirits, wine and spirits, though. Another bit of hypocrisy from this being. Okay? So we have this. Then you have a being who left their little children. Okay, so let's say we forgive this being for leaving his own sons. Okay? He goes to a place and says that getting women pregnant, they can't get women pregnant, right? You can't get women pregnant when you're natural, and also he called children karma. So he said having children is karma, and that the way they were living, nobody gets pregnant there. Mind you, family, I'm just bringing up the things that he stated. Nobody gets pregnant there under the natural system, right? There was one young lady that left that supposedly was pregnant, and now we have another being, supposedly quote-unquote Pocahontas, who's now pregnant, right? And we do know that beautiful congratulations to what's his name? oh, what's it, Irie, and to her wonderful mate that left, Phoenix. I'm sorry, baby on a brain. Phoenix. Big up to them. They're having a baby. I saw that online. They discussed it's nothing private. Big up to them. They're pregnant. She was there, and she got pregnant. So according to Nature Boy, you can't get pregnant when you're living in the highest standard of being a vegan. Which, mind you, I come from that life. Maybe this young boy had been a vegan for 2.5 seconds. I'm a woman of a certain age, though aging is a state of being. I've lived that life. And I know for a fact that when I got pregnant, I was very much a vegan. So for the beings that say no one can get pregnant, okay, mind you, you can watch his videos. Now I have some issues. Come to find out, we find out through other beings who are blowing this being's spot. Now his spot is being blown because he came out and threw arrows. You come for anybody, you don't have to mention my name. I know who you speak about. When you come for one, they will come for you. Don't start no one be none. He's from New York, he knows the deal. You don't have to say somebody's name to say something. You were speaking out loud a little vague. I'm responding. Here we go. So we have a young man who comes and joins the Ethereans. You know, I have to call it because they're non-enlightened beings, okay? But I'm going to show this. He brings with himself his money from his mother or father dying. Someone died and he got life insurance. This is a very tragic issue. A young man had gotten an inheritance of money, and he received a big amount of money from a parent dying. This is allegedly. I heard this through the grapevine. That's what, when someone passes, sometimes, you have insurance money. That was meant for him to sustain himself for a period of time and get himself together, especially as a young man. That allows for him to maybe buy a house for himself. I'm sure his parents or whoever passed away would have liked for him to take that money and do something and invest for himself and his future family. It's not a small amount. It's not a big, huge amount of money, but it's a good amount of money. And that's something that was meant for him. Keith. That was his name, Keith. Don't you know that Nature Boy talks about the whole videos? He's talking about how people were taking advantage of him, spending all his money, but meanwhile it wasn't his money that they were spending. He was taking money, he was extorting money from a young person who was probably still grieving, who doesn't even realize it, and extorting their money, using their money and spending it on everyone like nothing, like dropping it like it's hot. And telling everybody that he was not appreciated by giving everything to all those beings who left before, because now he doesn't have any money left. No, he doesn't have any of the money that he took from another young man that he took advantage of, put him under mind control, took his money, spent it all on other people. See, people don't have respect for things that are not their own. That's what, when he's living ghetto fabulous, living in non-nature, living with 40 million. This is a person who talks about being Nature Boy, but is buying a whole bunch of electronics, living up in the house, doesn't have highlights in their hair. You can tell the hair is not healthy. Listen, I'm an island girl. I come from that life. The Dreadies lived that life. Don't play with me. I know men who live up in the bush in Jamaica. I know people who live up in the bush in Trinidad. I know people who live up in the bush in Panama. You can't tell me that a being who's calling himself nature, his hair looks unhealthy because he is not getting proper nutrition, and also he looks a little dehydrated from probably going back the sass or the alcohol. Okay? This is not throws and arrows, but when you come for me, say my name. I'm okay with what you say, because I live that life. I'm about that life. If you want to debate somebody, you need to sit up with me, and I can go toe to toe all day to discuss with somebody about nature, because you know what? I'm about that life. If I ask you what kind of seeds can you plant in the middle of fall when it's less than 70 to 60 degrees or 50 degrees, what would you tell me, Nature Boy? You couldn't tell me anything, because you'd never planted anything in your life. And when you plant things, when you plant seeds from your wand and plant it in others, you didn't even cultivate those seeds properly because you left them. Anyway, I know the Sag is coming out. I'm sorry. I'm calling out shots because I'm tired of lies and hypocrisy, and I'm seeing all these young people following these people. So you got a young lady. Let's get to another member of Melanation. You have a young lady who's on part of Melanation. Her name is EJ. Yes, I said your name, EJ. Everyone's so enamored by this young lady. She's got the dirtiest mouth in the world. You calling her goddess. Goddess don't say, yo, my nigga. Who says that? Excuse my language. This is what the young lady comes out of her mouth, sounding less than enlightened. This is the same young lady who sit there and watch Yaya and Theory get talked down, degraded, and disrespected in her presence, and you call this young lady a goddess? I don't care how young she is. That is not a starseed. That is a demonic who allows other females to be under her, in her viewpoint, and be disrespected and disregarded. They had a mother there with a little young child that was just recently there. Do you think this young, what you call to be an Etherean, sat there? She calls herself a divine. She has a dirty, undivine mouth. She has the mouth of a garbage bag. How dare you talk out loud and say how divine and talk for women? You are not one of us. Any woman who's divine, who's for that life, who is an expression of nature, cannot watch another woman be defranchised, be disrespected and disregarded, and especially a baby. How dare you sit there and make a video saying how wonderful and divine and tell me what as women we should do? Matter of fact, young girl, you need to sit in your place and sit down and let the grown women talk. The ones who are seasoned, who actually do things, who actually cultivate their lives. You sitting there, and we found out that you took your $13,000 that you had for your little money to go to college. Yeah, I'm blowing your spot because your mama's looking for you. You need to sit down and go home and be appropriate and watch your dirty mouth. Don't speak for the divine because you ain't one of us. Took your $13,000 and gave it to that narcissist, so he could sit there and throw it in your face and spend it on another one of these little women that he's sticking his wand in, doing all kinds of depraved things. He's talking about he's all about polygamy. The man has stuck his penis in almost every female that's been there. Polygamous, I have to even defend the real polygamists. This is what's sad about it. I gotta defend polygamy now. And you know I'm not about that life. I gotta defend the polygamists. Polygamists who actually are quote-unquote real polygamists, builders of lives and nations, they don't do that. They actually cultivate relationships for longer periods of time. Then when they've cultivated one relationship, they usually bring in another. This man has not cultivated anything. He's not had one original female there since he's been there. All he's been doing is utilizing his platform, using the astrological profile of females before they get there to know how mind controllable they are and how feasible and programmable they are prior to them getting there. This is what this being is doing. I'm sorry, I gotta get venomous. When I saw this young girl telling the women what they should do, I was disgusted. How dare you, young seed? Sit in your place. You are not speaking for the divine. No divine woman could sit there and watch women and children being abused. You are not a divine. You sat there on a program talking about how people shouldn't have crystals, how digging out crystals was an abomination, how we taking it out of the ground is wrong. I'm not in disagreement of that. But when I ask you a question of why you're wearing gold, which is mind genius, who's telling you these things? Maybe you should have stayed in college like your mother and father wanted you to do. Maybe that was something you should have done. Because if you had any little bit of intellect or intelligence, you would know that all metals are mined, not just crystals. So if you have beef with crystals, then you should have beef with the gold that you were rocking the day that you were talking about it. Have some common sense. Instead of sitting there rebuking and spitting out and everything verbatim from this pseudo master teacher who's just another reptilian, another disagreeable reptilian that's sitting up there. We saw him shapeshift. When you saw his eyes turn into Pan, I knew he was not that. Believe me, I know his origin and I know why he's here and I know what he's here to do. Many of you are so naive and sitting here worship. People are giving him donations to keep upholding. You are just as damned as that being who's doing garbage to women. Any female, any feminine woman, any person, any woman who's donating money to a narcissist, to an abuser, is just as responsible because you're giving him a crutch for his platform. You're allowing this being to have more breath and more way to get around and infect others. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm sweating, I'm getting upset. I'm letting you know it's coming here. They took $300,000 of a young man's money, extorted it, and had the audacity to put him on film talking about what he's done for others when it wasn't his money that he used to do it with. He talked about everybody renting their houses. Listen, honey, this is my home. This is my home. Those plants back there, I planted. Okay? This hair on my head is mine. These highlights I got came from being out in the sun. What you gotta say, son? This body that I have, that sometimes is a little thicker than not, has a lot of vegetables and fruits and all divine from filtered water from non-GMO. What you have to say about that? Anyway, we got beings who were invited to their facility after he spent this young man's money, Key, and he spent the little young dirty potty mouth little young lady who and wait, let me sidebar for a minute. You know why that many of the sea stars had to cut their hair? If you remember, EJ and a couple of the other sea stars had beautiful dreads when they were there. You know why had they cut their hair? See, I got a blue spot. You know why they had to cut their hair and throw it out in the afro and cut it and make it shorter? You know why, right? Because their hair was looking healthier than their master teacher, because their nutrition was probably healthier and they're younger and had more nutrient value in their system. So their hair couldn't look nicer than his. So he made it a point to influence them to cut their hair so that their hair wouldn't look more beautiful than his. But we talk about a man who's not vain. Okay. Okay. I'm sorry, I had to sidebar there because nobody knew why they had beautiful hair. Listen, I'm all about the natural hair. That's why my hair is always the way it should be. You know, this is my natural hair. This is the highlights of my hair. My hair is a little messy because I'm out in Florida, so I'm a little more tropical, so my hair is always out. This is me. Okay, so this is how it rolls. This is all me. I am a non-GMO being living up in what he considers to be Babylon, living more natural. I'm outside all the time. That's why I have highlights in my hair. That's why my nails are short, because I'm always putting my hands in soil. Not soil like potty soil, pooping on trees, meaning I always have my hands in pot, you know, and actually potting things. Okay? So let's talk about the racist issue here, the complexion thing that he keeps talking about. He had the audacity to talk about the beings that he invited. Remember, he invited non-melanin dominant beings to their countryside escape in Costa Rica because he ran out of money. Not only did he, it's not really an invitation when they have to pay per week, right? So you have non-melanated, I think it was a couple of them, non-melanated beings. They came there, they were invited there, they were allotted there. I'm sure they had to pay. That's I don't know that for a fact, but what the intel is on the back late is that they probably had to pay. Okay, so he let non-melanated people on melanation, okay? But he doesn't like melanation. He doesn't like, he's talking about how wonderful our melanin is popping, right? My melanin is popping. That's what he says all the time when he's on. He's like, ooh, I'm sexy. Who says that? Like, what egotistical person talks about their physicality like I'm sexy? Like, who says that? And you're supposed to be, you know, someone who people look up to. So anyway, he gets these young men. One was from Canada and one was from France, right? They're there. He's talking about how they're not white anymore. They're lighter shades of tan, right? They're lighter shades of tan. How they should be accepted, how we are all racist for talking about them. I never talk. Listen, I'm inclusive. You see our family. Our family comes in every complexion, every gender, every sexuality, every species. We're very inclusive. So this is not a conversation for us. This is a conversation that he said. He said they were different. Stop talking about white people. This is what he said. He said, don't talk about them because they're lighter shades of tan. But as soon as they got in trouble and they had their paperwork right, he threw them under the bus, literally. And big up to Sika. Sika made a video talking about why didn't anyone want to get off the magic bus. Sika was hilarious. Sika, I listened to your whole video. Sika said, Sika's online. She's a part of the Woman Revolution. She talked about all he had to do was get off the magic bus. Why did he want to stay on the magic bus? If any of you have little people, you know what the magic bus is. So listen, he had the tan people who had their paperwork right because they're smart, but they weren't the only ones who had their paperwork right. You had Nature Girl Fury that just came there. Her paperwork was right. She's a brown girl. She's a melanated girl. You had Pocahontas who apparently had her paperwork right because she's new. She's a brown, beautiful, darker brown girl. And you had another Nista there who had her paperwork right, and I think Key had his paperwork right. They chose to stay imprisoned in immigration. Listen to me, family. He said that the white people were released and all the brown people were taken and made to stay. That is a full, bold lie. The white people, the non-melanated people, they were smart. They were like, listen, we didn't start this. Don't start, no more be, now we're out. They're smart. Who wants to be in prison in immigration when he's the one inciting riots on a school bus? That's madness. For no reason. Sign the papers, get it moving, go pop and go drink some vodka and drop it like it's hot at your facility. He wanted to stay and start it. He said he wanted to die that day on the bus. And mind you, he's popping all that smack, and as soon as he got off the bus, he's hugging the officer saying, I love you, while his homeboy's getting his behind beat. But he's telling you he's a warrior, while his pregnant wife was out there beating up officers, nearly hurting herself, and he was okay with that, while she's impregnated with his seed, with this another seed. Let's see how this one turns out. So, all this to say, the non-melanated homeboys left, as they should. They had their paperwork right. They saw this brown man losing his mind because he's a narcissist sociopath. They probably were scared to even be part of this NatureNazi. It's called NatureNazi. And then, not only that, you had the brown girls there, Nature Girl Fury, Pocahontas, and there was another girl who's disappeared off the planet. They don't even talk about her. Like, people just disappear out of Melanation and nobody speaks about them. So she disappeared. We don't even know what happened to her. She was in a video. I don't know who she was. She was part of them, and then she disappeared. Then you had Key, who had his paperwork right. They chose to stay. No, they weren't prejudiced at immigration. They did their job. Y'all didn't have your stuff right. Listen, if you're not about paperwork, how did you get to Costa Rica? How did you get to Honduras? Apparently you had to do paperwork, didn't you? Clownery? Right? You did, right? Well, call me, maybe I'm stunad, right? Maybe I'm crazy. Did you not have to do paperwork to get yourself to Honduras? Did you not have to do that? But you have a problem once they call you out on not having your stuff correct. So you only utilize paperwork when it's to your advantage, but when it's not to your advantage, you just don't want to be bothered with it. Kind of sounds like how you deal with your children. Like you cool with your children so long as the baby mamas are okay, but if the baby mamas go left, you're not okay with being around them. Let's go again. So these young men left Melanation, as they should. They should have ran before then. I don't imagine why these young men would have joined. I question people's sanity for joining that. Just 2 weeks prior to them getting arrested in immigration, there was a mother and baby there. Now this is why I question the sanity of anybody who's part of Melanation. You have these so-called warriors who are part of Melanation. They look like they are zombied out. They look like they're on LSD. They look like they're on marijuana times 10, K9. They look like they're on some sort of drugs that you can't even define. They're standing in the background. They never have anything to say. This man is talking to women disparagingly. He's always saying some really insane things. None of them are checking him. What kind of warriors don't check another warrior? I don't know any homeboys. I've known some of the toughest warriors. Matter of fact, one of my mates was one of the toughest, baddest ones from the BX. Big up to the BX. I rock with that homie to this day. Best believe if there was another warrior in the house being disrespectful, he would check them and they would check him. What kind of men stand behind sitting there like zombies while this man is talking all kinds of craziness and madness? Those aren't warriors. Those are drones. Those are minions. Those are empty seaters. No warrior who's from New York would ever tolerate another man talking like that to other women or other people. They had a child and a baby there and a mother there. He didn't have a problem kicking them off, though he invited them there. What did he think, a child was going to be quiet? See, this is the problem when fathers don't take care of their own children. They don't even know the natural patterns of children. They don't even know what a child would be like on their property, because they're so busy trying to be egotistical and trying to look good and trying to get it popping and trying to get their wand and everything that moves. Anyway, so these people were released. Now let's fast forward. They kick him out of the country. They didn't really kick him out. They just didn't have the proper paperwork. They weren't supposed to be there. They didn't have an invitation to stay there longer than was necessary. They could have, listen, with $300,000, they could have had their citizenship. It wasn't that much to stay in Costa Rica. They could have bought a nice plot of land. I know people, when I was looking for land, I went to Costa Rica. Costa Rica was one of the first places I looked at. That's why he went there. But I don't want to go there. Okay? So, Costa Rica, you could buy land, and you could sit there and squat all day. But no, he wanted to rent, but he'll tell you not to rent. He tells you that you guys are all renters, you eat all GMO foods, but he's not. But he's buying food every day, and he's renting. He's being abusive to the divine feminine, and then he has Nazi females there calling themselves divine, who are quite the opposite, who are allowing other females to be degraded in front of them. That EJ, I don't care how young she is, she's a cutie pie. Don't let that look fool you. That is a demonic child. She has been under mind control. I don't know who she was before, but if you listen to her little potty mouth and you see that she's there and she's been holding it down as one of the original females, and she's seen all the dirt that's going on with other females, and she's sitting there. That's not a divine female. That's a male in female form. That's one of the patriarchy. You know, when I talk about females that represent the patriarchy, she's one of them. Don't let her little cute look fool you, boo. So, yeah, I'm a little heated. I'll get over it. I'm going out later. She's not even dedicated to herself. So anyway, fast forward. They're getting released. Finally. The country doesn't even want them. The country wants them out. Rightfully so. You don't want that kind of madness in your country. So, they're getting released. They're about to take their flight. They have to buy their flights. They get flights on Spirit Airlines. Big up to Spirit Airlines for upholding some standards and ethics. I'm okay with what Spirit is. I used to work for the airlines a long time ago. I would have made the same call. So they're about to take their flight. They get on. Now listen. I've been on flights. Listen. If I see some madness coming on the flight, you got all kinds. He said that people were looking at him because he's black and he's got dreadlocks. No, they're looking at you because you look crazy. You look like a maniac. You look like someone who would do harm to others. Yes, Jim Jones. You look like one of those beings that would be on the terrorist list. It ain't because of your color. It's because of your nasty attitude and your crazy eyes, your shape-shifting eyes, you reptilian. They get on the plane. People are talking about they stunk. They had a stench to them. They get kicked off. They get removed. Now, mind you, he tells everybody they get kicked off that they're black. He does not tell you that a few of them were allotted to stay on the plane. It wasn't everybody who had a smell. It was a few of them. And the fact of the matter is, it made sense that they would smell after being in a prison for a long period of time. That doesn't help. So I can give them a little bit of a crutch there. Okay? But looking at the crazy look in a crazy man's eye, who's been dominating people, who's been in isolation with iPads and Google for 24 hours a day, seven days a week for like a year, he looks like a madman. So of course it's scaring people, and then the smell of madness comes on. You know, as within, I tell you that demons smell like sulfur. Nobody believes me. When you talk to people who have... I'm sorry. If you've ever known, we talk about demonic attachments and demons being attached. They have a stench to them, and they generally smell like sulfur. That's a fact. Many people have done exorcisms. Priests will talk about that. A lot of people in Yoruba or in voodoo or voodoo will talk about a scent of some of the demons when they step in the room. They probably have the stench of some demonics, because remember, any being who's drinking vodka, talking about they're a vegetarian, but are judging people who cheat. What kind of madness is that?
So anyway, they got kicked off the plane, removed from the plane, right? For stinking up the plane. I don't know that that was the case. I think that it was a combination platter. I think it was a combination of him looking like a madman and his crew. He's got one young man who's on there who has never had a woman or a man. I don't know what he's doing there. He looks like someone you should watch your children and family around. The tall one that looks like he should be calmed down. He's very well spoken, but he looks very psychologically not well. I don't know his name, but he's tall. He generally comes in to talk when all the negative language comes out the others. He has a little bit of better diction, so he expresses himself better. But he looks like he's 2 minutes past hurting people. I'm being honest. So they get off the plane. He's complaining that now he's going to sue. Listen to this: a person who talked about being against Babylon is now talking about suing them because he ran out of money. He already spent all the young people's money. He didn't have a residual. His residual was utilizing everybody's. People are donating him like zombies, like wild zombies, donating to him to allow him to be here freely. And he's now telling everybody he's going to sue. He's gonna sue Spirit Airline for removing him for looking like a crazy terrorist. He looks terroristic. I would not let him on my plane. I would make up a story. I'm telling you, for the safety of the crew and the passengers, he does not look well. And it's because he's not mentally well. Any grown man in his 30s that's sucking his thumb is not healthy. And I'm not judging him for that, because there's a lot of boys. I did a show the other night about boys who've been anally penetrated and have been harmed. He has a lot of the criteria of a young boy who's been violated. He does, and that's not funny, because this is what the future holds for those who don't protect children. He didn't have parents, and that's a tragedy. I will never make fun of that. That's not something that someone wants. That's not something that he asked for. So for that reason, yes, he has this now disposition. But look what happens to the little children, little lost boys. He's a lost boy. He's not a nature boy. He's a lost boy that didn't get off the magic bus properly, like Sika said. Big up to Sika who said that. He didn't get off the magic bus, and then he brought everyone down, and now he's bringing another seed into this world, and God knows what he's going to do, because he has a pattern of getting rid of females and replacing them with new ones. This one, I hope she just met this man basically, and she got herself in a situation. Good luck. I've been there, done. Listen, I'm not judging her. I feel for her. But again, these little seeds, like when you hear them talk, they're not divine. Every word that comes out their mouth is like mother effing and N-I-G-G. They just have, they sound like patriarchy. They sound like women. They look like women, but they are the patriarch. They're spitting out banter like there are men that hate women. Because no woman can sit in a room and allow a mother be, listen, I don't care if Nature Boy was paying any of my bills. If you sit there and disrespect the mother and child in front of me, it's on and popping. And if you don't get it with my words, I will take it upon myself to call some of the real warriors, because I don't handle my hands like that, because I'm truly divine unless I have to. Can't stop, won't stop. But I will call some real warriors to take your behind. How dare you sit there and put your hands on some women? How dare you sit there and defranchise women? And then you sit there, EJ, and allow that man to talk to women. And then when your homeboy, your partner, had the nerve to call me a bitch on internet for asking you why you thought it was okay that crystals should be put back in nature and not your gold that you were wearing. And he called me a bitch, mind my business, bitch. You didn't even blink an eye. How divine are you, C-Star? Anyway, family, as you see, I'm a little piloted today. Nature Boy is what we consider to be a disagreeable reptilian. All of the videos I've made on narcissistic sociopaths, he is one of them. We saw his eyes shapeshift. I have the picture. He had some sort of pan eye, saw it. He talked about Dr. Sebi as soon as he died. And you know what I think about that. I suggest, because he's traveling throughout the country, that you put ankhs on your doors, put some fresh garlic on your doors, I would protect your homes and your families, because Nature Boy's on the run. And best believe the reason why he's talking about suing is because somebody brought up child support, probably he can't get his passport back because he ditched out on his child support without telling his baby's mothers. So they will not give him his passport back. So best believe if you don't see him leave the country within the next 2 or 3 weeks, it's not because he doesn't want to, it's because he can't. Because maybe he should have taken care of his proper paperwork, meaning paying those babies instead of spending all that money on a whole bunch of strangers. I hope he was giving money to the mothers of his children who were still in Babylon, taking care of his seeds that he left. Disgusting. And let me just tell you, there's some judgment in this video. There's judgment in this video. I had to talk about it. I had to talk about the fact that I noticed, only people who garden know this. Your hair gets highlighted when you're out in nature. That shows you he was never out in nature. And I told you, I did the Kino interview. Kino said he was never outdoors. He was sitting in a room sucking on his thumb on 50 million iPads that he paid with this young man's money that of a parent who passed away. Yeah, a whole lot of judgment. I'm sorry, honey. Hummingbird. Yeah, it came out. My lower self, like he likes to say, my lower self came out to go anti against my higher self. I'm just saying, people, be rational. Stop supporting demons. This man is not mentally well. He has some issues. We all do, but he has bigger ones. The fact of the matter is, he likened himself to Christ. He called himself Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ wasn't sticking his penis in anything that moved. Jesus Christ didn't leave, to anybody's knowledge, leave his own children to just fend for themselves. Jesus Christ doesn't curse out women and leave them on the floor cowering like some of the other nature girls who've documented and said that they walked in a room seeing Fiery and Yaya on the floor crying while he's yelling over them, calling them idiot and dirt and stupid. He's not a Christian-like person when he's calling women fat. He used to call, and Kino said this, he was sitting there calling all the other people ugly. He called BP a fat slob, a fat pig or something like that. That's disgusting. This is somebody that likens himself to Christ? He said he's being crucified, but he's the one who didn't pay and do his due diligence while he was outside in another country. Why do he be like the other crazies and go up in the mountains and do his dirt in the United States of America? Because he's acting real Babylonian in his behavior. Babylon was never a place, a country. It was a state of mind. Yeah, my doggy. Oh, my doggy has a diaper. I know, my doggy's not well. So, I take care, yeah. No. She has one because she's older now. So she has what you call incontinence. That's all. I know, you see my doggy and her geriatrics. Yeah, oh my gosh, you guys can see it. Yeah, but she's okay. I take good care of her. You see, she's enjoying herself out here. Yeah, Christ doesn't do things like that. Do you see what I mean? Christ doesn't hurt beings. I remember when he first came out, he told everybody to get rid of their dogs, their children, come as you are. And now, oh wait, listen. So he told everyone to come to Costa Rica because it's the most bio-friendly country there is. There's no military. And now that he's kicked out, he's telling nobody to go to Costa Rica because it's too expensive and wrong. So every time something goes wrong with him, this is a true narcissist. They just placed it all on, because I'm not doing it, I'm not going to tell everybody else to do it. So now he's telling everybody not to go to Costa Rica. And then he said he's going to Africa, which he's going to get a rude awakening in Africa. Africa is a large continent. It is not just one country. And I will tell you, he will get a rude awakening in Africa. Can't stop, won't stop. So when you come for me, when you want to say your little sidebars, when your little minion, undivine females want to come for me, they need to come like grown women. At the end of the day, I don't have any issues with being who I am in a 1000% way. When I say I'm about that life, I live that life. Do you see anyone over here barking at me? I told you the last Nazi that came at me got a 2-piece and he was out. I don't play that. I'm not saying that these women are not, for a long time we were concerned about the females there. And most of the females that we were concerned with originally from Melanation have left with their good mind. And they've not returned except for Fury. Fury is not very, I don't know why she returned. Now she's become one of, how do you become a wife in like 2 days? How do you just term yourself as wife? So now I could just meet a guy in 2 days and just he could just be my husband, I could be his wife? Like, how does that work out? Just so he can stick his penis in me and it looks divine? This man has stuck his penis in so many females since he's been there. There's all kinds of incubus, succubus going on. There's all kinds of STDs, sexually transmitted demons, especially if they're drinking. So they talk, like, again, I'm just so confused how you could talk about people smoking marijuana, but you could drink vodka daily and eat bags of chips. Because I saw someone eating Planters nuts. Pocahontas was in the airport eating Planters nuts. You know how many chemicals are in Planters nut? But she's supposed to be divine, right? For us who are planting pineapples, you see there's a pineapple plant, right? See, I planted that myself. So I planted this pineapple, but she's walking around in the airport eating Planters nuts. But she's all about that life. So anyway, family, I'm sorry. I gotta go out tonight. I actually gotta do things. You like my pineapple? Yeah, I planted my pineapple plants. Okay? And those are my avocados over there. My avocado plants, I have 4 of them, so I have to put them in the ground. You know, once they get past a certain point where I feel like they can survive on their own, then I'll actually plant them into the ground. Until they get to a certain point, I cultivate them inside with me, and then I set them out free so that they can thrive. Because I'm about that life. When you start coming out, nature boy, and planting soil with real soil, not poop soil, start getting some highlights in your hair. Maybe stop drinking the yak. Bring you a little rationality. Maybe he was, I don't know, maybe he was detoxing. That's why he was going on a rampage up in the place. And let me just tell you something. Any being who talks about nature cannot be on live 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That is not a being that's about nature. That's a being that's all about ego. Because I tell you, and he thinks that people following are really feeling him. No, they're not feeling him. They're watching the train wreck. Some people just like to see the train wreck. That's just what it is. So anyway, I know I went on a rampage. Yeah, there was some judgment here. There was shots fired. I felt maybe in my direction. So I addressed it. And like I said, if they want to go toe-to-toe, I could go toe-to-toe with all of Melanation. I don't have a problem being in the truth. Because remember, I'm about that life. So when you're truly about, see, no one will go toe-to-toe with me. That's why you'll never hear him say my name. Say my name when no one is. Once you say my name, nature boy, you will never say my name out loud. You know why? Because you're afraid. You're afraid that your beings that follow you might actually catch wind that you are nothing but a charlatan. You're an egotistical, narcissistic sociopath that had some issues as a child. Listen, I can heal that. If Nature Boy came to me, listen, that's one thing with me. Listen, he's from New York. He's used to this kind of banter. He's not unfamiliar with me coming for him this way. That's why he doesn't get fazed by this. But if Nature Boy said to me, you know, Del Flurbrun, I really did suffer as a child. I feel like I need some spiritual healing. I feel like I need something. There would be no way. I would never turn anyone away. I would never do that. That's something I wouldn't do. But he won't do that because he's a narcissist and he's a control freak. He could never have a true divine feminine next to him. He could never be seated with a true empress sitting by his side because he would always feel disfigured. He would feel lesser because his behavior is reprehensible. So, but like I said, if you have anything to say, shots fired at me, that's how I felt. Ricochet back. You have anything, you know my number. He still has it. You have anything to say, you want to bring your directs this way, I suggest you not do that because you might embarrass Melanation. Okay? Because I'm a grown woman and I'm about that life. So I'm just saying, keep my thoughts out your head. You don't want anything over here. You don't want to have nightmares and you don't want no issues to your group. Stay in your position, stay on your trip going to North Carolina with your minions, and just keep it like that. But stay away from my sea stars. If you come for any of my sea stars or I see you kind of converting them, you will have issues with me and the divine, and the Andromedans will come for your ass. Do you understand me? So anyway, I love you, family. I promise I won't do this to you again. It's a rarity that I have this moment. I'll leave this video out. It's starting to rain. I gotta get ready. I had to release the Kraken a little bit on this being because he has some really deep-seated issues. And like I said, he could come this way anytime he wants. But just know, if you willing to serve it, nature boy, just be ready to get it served right back. And it's a lot hotter than you can tolerate. Peace, family.